All right, my turn to give another example from my papers. Very often in paper F9, part A will be calculated net present value. Part B will be an internal rate of return. And to get the correct internal rate of return, you need to have got the net present value correct. The net present value, some of the cash flows, again, will be really easy marks, others are hard. So you get the easy ones, you've got half the marks. If you can't do the hard one, you leave it. But then people don't do part B because they can't work out the correct internal rate of return if they've not got the correct net present value in part A. But the marks in part B, even if you invented figures, the marks of approving, you know how an internal rate of return is calculated.
It's principles, isn't it?
Yeah. So even if you completely made up figures, or obviously, all right, you've done part A and your answer's wrong, it makes no odds, you can still get full marks on part B. But so many, because they got stuck on part A, they think, right, I can't do part B, they don't do part B.
Because I've not got the figure.
Quite.
Calculate the earnings per share. Well, I know I've not got the right profit figure, so what's the point of calculating the earnings per share? And you just put say profit available is 50,000 divided by weighted average number. And the marks are there simply for showing that you know the principles involved.
Which leads into the other bit, the importance of, without wasting too much time, showing your workings.
Oh, yeah.
Because if all you've done, or the same applies I'm sure to earnings per share, but internal rate of return, if all you've done is put a number down, all right, if the number's right, you'll get the marks. But if the number's wrong, you'll get 0, unless you've made it clear what you're doing. If you've made it clear that you're doing this,
you'll get by weighted average.
You'll get most of the marks, even if you've made a calculation mistake or used the wrong numbers.
The F7 exam particularly, but also P2 exam, I keep telling them the marks are in your workings. The marks are not for putting share capital and picking a figure up out of the question. The marks are in your workings. If you can appreciate what we're trying to do with the workings, then you can pick the substantial elements, a substantial proportion of the marks up, without getting to the statement of financial position, the statement of income. The marks are there within your workings, and you can show, as long as your workings are clearly labelled.
Quite.
Show what you're working out and in which records you're going to make the adjustment.
Alright, I'll show you this one again. There are some figures. That figure is wrong. But I just can't make out where that figure came from. She may well have been doing the right thing and made an arithmetic mistake. But the way it's set out, I've absolutely no idea how she got the figure. Whereas this one, alright, the figure was right. But even if the figure had been wrong, there's workings there. I can see what she's been doing. So she'd get most of the marks, even if she'd made an arithmetic mistake. You know, you know what I mean?
Oh, of course I know what you mean.
And yet, I mean, there's a limit. You don't want to waste half an hour doing workings. But just enough to show you know what you're doing.
Well, maybe your F5 and F9 are different than my F7.
Well, I'm sorry, what I mean is, there's a limit to, you don't want to write 10 pages of workings.
Explaining
not have time.
That's
to,
right.
You know, but enough to show the marker that you know what you're doing, that's all I mean.
Yeah, alright, well maybe your F5 and your F9 are different than my F7 and B2.
Probably are.
That the marks are in the workings, and once you've done the basic workings and then you've worked through all of the points at the end of the question and shown what your adjustment would be, I don't really think it particularly matters if you then add a cross-distribution cost for the 3 companies, because all you're doing is showing you can pick 3 figures up and add them up.
Yeah. There is a difference, I'll tell you what the difference is and why it's relevant. A good example is a net present value calculation with inflation, where the workings keep repeating. The workings are the same each year. So to show the workings for each individual year is just wasting time. I always show it for 1 year. And then multiply by the... Well, yeah, but I've shown it for 1 year. So I may have misread a figure, in which case they're all wrong, but at least it's clear from that 1 year's workings what I'm doing.
Just check your summary total and then apply your inflation rate.
Yeah, but the point is, the inflation each year, suppose you've misread the inflation, because there are often several rates. one bit of working shows that I know I'm doing the right thing.
And then applying that figure.
The marker's not stupid. If you use the wrong inflation rate there, all right, you might lose half a mark, but he'll realise it's the same mistake carried on. So that's what I'm getting at. Yeah. So it's wasting time to show the workings for every single figure.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing in the article I was going through this morning, because he said the VPP comment said that some of the students have got the wrong structure, but the marker should then apply one of the sub-subsidiary was shown as an associate company. So if you get the wrong structure, is it the end of the world? And the answer is, well, it can't be the end of the world if you then apply the right principles, even though you've got the wrong percentages. So all is not lost, even though you make a mess of the initial working.
But does that sorry, you might correct me here because I don't teach it. Does that emphasise the importance of writing down the structure at the beginning? So even if it's wrong, the marker knows where you've gone wrong and can still give you the marks for doing the right thing on the wrong. Yeah,
because otherwise you're picking up, say, 30% instead of 65%. And at least he can see why you're picking up 30% instead of 65%.
But if you haven't written down the structure, he might not know why you've gone wrong.
What chance has he got?
Quite.
No chance. Oh dear, it's a hard life.
So often, the requirement, well, there's 2 or 3 requirements in the same question.
Yeah.
Calculate this and comment on it.
Yeah.
I'm always getting that. And in the middle of an exam, I can see why it happens. You calculate, you're so thrilled you calculate it, that you forget it wants you to comment.
Identify and explain.
Yes.
That little
so
word.
what I was suggesting was that another thing to do in your reading time is to highlight. That
get your highlight pen and identify the
answer. Calculate and explain, and then there's less chance that you'll forget to do both.
It's pretty much every question.
Yeah.
It's certainly in auditing and in P1 and in P2. It's less so in F7, but even in F4, you'll often find a question is something identify and explain or describe and evaluate, and that it's that little word and if you miss the and off, if they just describe or identify, it's half the marks gone.
Yeah, but I can see why it happens. I'd be the same in the middle of an exam.
Yeah.
You're in a bit of a panic, you do the first bit, you forget it, what's the second bit. Yeah. But the reading time's an ideal time to...
It's planning again, it's the...
highlight.
There continues to be a lack of visible evidence of the planning process. And by planning, so when you read, in your initial 15 minutes, you read all the requirements, you read the big questions, and then you start to plan. Once you've made your plan, which should be time allocated itself, once you've made your plan up, you then go back to the question and read the requirement again and say, if I write that plan out in full, is that going to answer the question that is set, not the one I hoped was set? Is it going to answer the question that was set, and is it going to answer the whole of the question that was set? Am I really identifying and describing or explaining?
Yes.
Agreed.
Agreed. And can I mention something else?
You can.
Which is still saying the same thing in a different way. What really depresses me is when you read the examiner's comments for all the papers I teach, where there's a part A, a part B, a part C. It's always part A was well done, part B, part C, not many people attempted it and all this business. And I can understand it if part C was hard. Yeah. Obviously, if it's hard, there's a limit. But more often than not, part C was relatively easy. And the obvious reason they haven't attempted it is time. They've spent ages on part A.
But this is what I was going back to when we first started this conversation.
And it's repeating what I said about why not do part C first?
Yeah, do part B, part C first. If it's not dependent on part A, then do it first.
And it's very rarely it's 100% dependent. And certainly the written bits. You can always write something. And then come back later and write more when you've done your part.
But even if it is dependent on the first bit, if it's 20 marks of preparing the financial statements and 5 marks of calculating the earnings per share, you're not going to get the financial statements right anyway, so your profit figure is going to be wrong, accept it. So it doesn't matter what figure you put into your earnings per share calculation, you know very well your profit figure is going to be wrong anyway.
Yeah. But what I would do, and you're probably going to disagree.
I probably will.
If I saw part B wanted earnings per share, No. I would have headed up my paper part B over in earnings per share equals earnings divided by shares or something. And then go to part A. Hopefully I get a figure, I put my figure in. If I don't want to make one up. But even if, the point is just by writing down the formula.
Earnings available divided by weighted average.
But I know I'm getting 1 mark, even if I can't end up doing it. And it's 1 mark a monkey could have got.
Yeah, they do, because they do set these exams to the chimpanzees in Frankfurt Zoo.
No, but my system, earnings per share defines itself. I don't teach F7, but I can work out myself that earnings per share is earnings divided by shares. And I know that you can write more, but I mean, you don't exactly need to be Einstein.
Well, your sister is, she's very clever. I know your sister.
It's ridiculous. Well, when he wants an internal rate of return. You can always write down the definition. It's when the net present value is 0. And you get a mark.
And the way to do it is by interpolating a positive and a negative ideally.
Yeah, but you don't need to know all that. You get 1 mark.
Just for when NPV is 0.
It's 10 seconds.
That's the rate of interest applicable.
It's 10 seconds. It's 1 mark.